baby is crying, not because they're hungry, not because they're in pain, not because anything is wrong. The room is perfect. The temperature is perfect. The white noise is running. The monitor is on. And still, they cry. And somewhere in the exhaustion of 3 a.m., a parent holds them and wonders, what does my baby actually need? Because we've given them everything. Everything the book said, everything the abstract, everything the experts recommended. And something still feels like it's missing. Maybe that feeling isn't a mistake. Maybe it's a message. Think about the first 12 months of a baby today. Before they ever touch grass, before they hear wind moving through trees, before they feel the weight of being carried by someone who isn't their parent, they've already been introduced to a screen. A soft glow, a follow-up notification, a developmental milestone tracker reminding you that your baby should be doing this by now. And the day gets filled up fast. Feeding window, wake window, nap window. Tummy time on a mat, sensory play with approved toys, baby class on Tuesday, swim class on Thursday. Sleep training method A, or maybe method B. Everything scheduled, everything optimized, everything measured. We count ounces, we track sleep cycles, we document every milestone on a chart that tells us if we're doing it right. And the love behind all of this is real. Nobody is questioning the love. So, somehow, even with all the effort, all the gear, all the expert advice, a lot of babies still seem unsettled. And a lot of parents still feel like they're failing at something they can't name. So what if the problem isn't the execution? What if the whole environment is just wrong for a baby's nervous system? For almost all of human history, babies did not grow up in quiet rooms. They grow up in noise. Real noise. The sound of fire. The sound of rain on branches. The sound of older children laughing somewhere nearby. The sound of adults talking, arguing, cooking, living. A baby didn't wake up to silence and a white noise machine. They woke up to people. Someone was already awake. Someone was already moving. Someone's body was already warm and close. And before that baby even opened their eyes, they already knew they were not alone. There was no nursery separated from the rest of life. There was no schedule telling the world to be quiet during nap time. There was just human life, happening continuously. And the baby in the middle of it. Carried while someone worked, passed between arms without ceremony, falling asleep against a chest, while conversation moved overhead like music. The baby didn't need silence to sleep. They needed presence. They didn't need a perfectly controlled environment. They needed to be inside life. And here's what's strange. When you look at how babies are built, at what their nervous systems are literally wired to expect, that ancient environment starts to look less like the past and more like the instruction manual we threw away. A baby's brain at birth is only about 25% developed. That's not a flaw. That's the design. The other 75% is meant to be built by experience, by the environment, by what the baby sees, hears, smells, touches, and feels in those first years. And for hundreds of thousands of years, that environment was remarkably consistent. Faces, not screens, not illustrated flashcards. Real, living, changing human faces, 6 inches away, looking back. That's the original curriculum. A face that smiles when the baby smiles. A face that looks worried when the baby cries. A face that teaches the baby, without a single word, how emotions work. Babies are born expecting faces. They're born preferring the sound of voices over any other sound. They're born needing to be held, not because it's comforting, but because touch is data. Being carried tells the nervous system, I am safe. I am not alone. The world is warm. Being put down in a crib in a silent room tells a very different story. Not a cruel one, not a damaging one, just an unfamiliar one. One the nervous system wasn't built to understand. And then there's movement. Babies were never meant to lie flat on their backs for most of the day. They were meant to be in motion, carried on hips, bounced while someone worked, jostled through the rhythms of daily life. That movement isn't just comforting. It's building the vestibular system. It's building balance, body awareness, spatial reasoning. The human body figured this out long before any pediatric research did. And one more thing the nervous system expected that modern life rarely provides. Variety. Not the curated, age-appropriate, pediatric-approved variety. Real variety. Different faces, different voices, different arms, different smells, different textures. The unpredictable variety of just being around a lot of humans at once. Which brings us to the part of baby development we almost never talk about. We say it takes a village to raise a child, like it's a nice idea, a metaphor, something we post as a caption when grandma visits. But it was never a metaphor. It was neuroscience before neuroscience had a name. A baby passed between 4 different sets of arms in a single afternoon wasn't just convenient for the mother. That baby was receiving 4 different sets of stimulation, 4 different voices with different rhythms and tones, 4 different ways of being held, 4 different faces to study and learn from. The baby's brain was being built by the village itself. The variety was the development. The noise was the education. The chaos of human life happening all around a baby wasn't a problem to be managed. It was the environment the brain evolved inside. And babies once grow up surrounded by all ages at once. Newborns next to toddlers, next to 8-year-olds, next to grandparents. A baby didn't just learn from their parents. They learned from watching a 5-year-old fall down and get back up. They learned from an older child's voice speaking to them with exaggerated patience. They learned from a grandmother's face, a face with different texture, different lines, different expressions than anyone else they knew. Each interaction was different. Each one asked something slightly new of the baby's developing nervous system. And the result was a brain that was, from the very beginning, woven into the fabric of a community. Not isolated in a room, not managed through a monitor. Present, in the middle of human life. Modern babies often get the opposite. 2 parents, maybe a daycare, maybe a grandparent visit on weekends. Deep love from a very small number of people. And the nervous system, wired for the village, sometimes doesn't know what to do with the quiet. Modern baby life didn't become this way because anyone decided it should. Nobody sat down and said, let's isolate babies from community and nature and replace it all with apps and schedules. It happened the way most things happen. Gradually, reasonably, one small decision at a time. Cities spread out. Houses got bigger. Families got smaller. and moved further apart. Streets became unsafe. Screens became convenient. Experts became the authority on things that used to live in grandmothers' hands. And parents, doing their best, started trying to rebuild the village artificially. Baby classes became the substitute for community. Sensory toys became the substitute for uneven ground and wind and mud. Sleep training methods became the substitute for the presence of other sleeping humans nearby. Development apps became the substitute for the grandmother's instinct that said, "This baby just needs to be held more." None of it was wrong. All of it was love. But something still didn't translate. Because you can't fully simulate the village. You can't put the nervous system at ease with the right product. You can't replace the 200,000-year-old expectation of human presence with an approved alternative. The baby's body is still waiting for the village, and the village is gone. Here's what this is not. This is not a lecture about screen time. This is not an argument against cribs, or white noise machines, or baby monitors. This is not a guilt trip for parents already doing everything they can. This is the opposite. Because if babies were built for the village, for noise and movement and many arms and the beautiful chaos of human life, then maybe the problem was never you. Maybe your baby isn't failing to adapt to modern life. Maybe your baby is doing exactly what a healthy human nervous system does, searching for the environment it was designed for. And that is actually useful information, because it changes what you reach for when things feel hard. Instead of another sleep method, maybe another person in the room. Instead of a new toy, maybe a walk outside, where the air moves and the light is real. Instead of a perfectly optimized schedule, maybe an afternoon that belongs to nobody, where the baby just gets to be near the people who love them. Not because it will solve everything, but because the nervous system recognizes it. Quiet, intimate. This is familiar. This is safe. This is what I was made for. You don't need to rebuild the entire village, but even a small piece of it. A noisy dinner, an afternoon in the backyard, a grandparent who just holds the baby while everyone else does other things nearby, does something no app can replicate. Soft emotional landing. It tells the baby's nervous system the most important thing it will ever learn. You are not alone. You are surrounded by life. You belong here. Maybe the question was never how to optimize a baby's development. Maybe the question was always this: how do we give a baby what their nervous system has been expecting for thousands of generations? Not perfection. Presence. Not the right schedule. The right people. Not the perfect childhood. A human one. Because babies were never meant to grow up in quiet rooms, staring at soft light, managed by systems. They were meant to grow up in the middle of life, with all its noise, all its warmth, all its mess, and all the people who made them feel, without a single word, that they were never alone.